Hey, super awesome listeners, back again with another one of Jenn's summer picks. This time, we're going to replay one of her episodes from What Are You Listening To? When she was joined by Comscore's Paul Dergarabedian. Really interesting conversation here talking about music and movies. So check it out, and Jenn will be back very soon with new episodes. Stay tuned.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jenn.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to share music and foster positive connections one song at a time. Some of the songs are old, some are new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by Paul Dergarabedian. Paul is Senior Media Analyst for Comscore, the global media measurement and analytics company that is best known for computing opening weekend and cumulative box office numbers. Paul is also host of the podcast Many Screens Big Picture, where he chats with the industry's leading experts about key trends to watch for in film and entertainment. We'll learn more about Paul and Many Screens Big Picture in between the music. Also, did you know that now on Spotify, you can listen to the show with the songs we discuss incorporated? Just search for What Are You Listening To with Music. If you're not listening on Spotify, please be sure to give the playlist a listen and then tune into our conversation. With that, let's get started. Paul, what are you listening to this week?
Well, Jenn, I'm listening to Vamos a Matar Compañeros by Ennio Morricone.
All right. This was such an interesting choice to kick us off, Paul. You got to tell me where, are you a fan of the film that this is from? Do you love Ennio Morricone? That's kind of a silly question. I think we probably both do, but tell me how did you find this song? How did it come to you? Tell me about it.
So there's a vinyl album that is a 2-disc compilation of songs, soundtrack, and music from a bunch of spaghetti westerns, if you will. Okay. All of these songs on this double album are written by Ennio Morricone, who is one of the greatest, most brilliant composers of all time, film composers. And the title of the song, Vamos a Matar Compañeros, means it's a very nice title. Let's kill, companions, meaning let's go, let's kill. And this is a movie directed by Sergio Corbucci, who you may remember was mentioned a lot in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's talking about who is the second greatest director of spaghetti westerns, Sergio Corbucci. And I believe that Tarantino, by saying the second best, was alluding to Sergio Leone as perhaps being his favorite director of spaghetti westerns. But this song, it strikes me because the lyrics, it's sort of like a chant, which is kind of interesting. And the movie, by the way, is sort of a comedy, if you will. It's a buddy comedy, a Zapata Western buddy comedy. And it stars Franco Nero and Jack Palance and Fernando Rey and Tomas Milan. Yes. And it's just something about this song grabbed me because I had never heard it before until I put on this album. I hadn't even seen the movie Vamos a Matar Compañeros. So it's just the chanting in it. Really, it has like a religious flavor. The harmonica and the call and response of the harmonica, the guitar, the chanting, and the choir doing the chanting. It's just amazing. And the lyrics, the chanting lyrics were written by the director of the movie, Sergio Corbucci. So what a great song. I love it.
It so was. And it just it brought home for me too. Actually, I'm sure our listeners will notice a theme as we get through all 4 songs here, but this really brought home for me the importance of a film score and a soundtrack and how, critical they are in setting time and place and emotions for any kind of film. I listen to this and I think of Ennio Morricone, who I also too love. You and I have spoken about this, not recording. We both love vinyl and the way that especially his albums sound on vinyl. And I too was introduced to him through Quentin Tarantino. Anytime you read an interview or anything with Quentin Tarantino, he talks about his love of spaghetti westerns and specifically Ennio Morricone. So it's that's where I first heard about it, but it really made me start thinking about how inextricable like music and film become, right? Like you can't think of Star Wars without thinking of the John Williams score, right? You can't think of Rocky without hearing Gonna Fly Now by Bill Conti. You know, like it just becomes part of the movie. And so this song seemed like a perfect companion piece to the movie. And strangely, this is a weird twist of fate that I wrote in there. I had seen this movie, but didn't remember that I'd seen it because it was in an art of the film class that I did. And this was the spaghetti Western selection, strangely.
That is very cool, Jen. And
so,
you know what's interesting about Ennio Morricone is that, you know, like if you think of some of his themes for movies, they're as much a character in the movie as the movies themselves. And I'm going to not do this justice, but we all know that's like smoke on the water for the spaghetti Western theme. It's just, everybody knows that. And when you hear that, as poorly as I rendered that, it takes you to that movie. You automatically are transported into the movie. It's as much a character as the characters in the movie is the music.
I totally agree. And I think that, this one, like you said, has all the things you want from an Ennio Morricone song, right? Like it's got the strange noises and, there's one point where it sounds like, is that a rooster crowing? Are there horns? Are they whistling? Is it a harmonica? Like about minute and a half in, you kind of get this break for these strange noises. And again, I just thought that it was so great at like pulling out the emotion and setting the tone. And I love that about any of Ennio Morricone's songs or scores, but specifically about this one. I just thought it did such a good job and it's a short song. I loved it.
I was just going to say, these songs are often a minute and a half, 2 minutes, but they feel epic.
They do.
It's like a symphony it's like a 2-minute symphony, and it's amazing to evoke that much imagery in your mind. Even if you haven't seen the movie, it makes you want to see the movie.
Yep.
And we're talking about a film, Compañeros, that came out in 1970, right? And yet this music sounds like it could have been recorded today.
Totally.
Although the sound quality is incredible. You have to give a shout out to the sound mixers and the engineers back in the day. And they really were able to, with probably very few microphones, get an incredible sound and just an epic 2 minutes of music that is so, again, just takes you back into the world of the spaghetti Western.
Exactly. So genre. Cinematic. So
very cinematic for sure.
Yeah. Well, then tell me about your second song, which is like, it was still kind of on our theme here, but in a totally different way.
Yeah, it's called Night Blues by Carlo Rustichelli.
All right. And now this one, I believe, is also from another Italian film. Is that right?
That's right. There's an Italian film. And again, this is a movie I've never seen. It's called Gli Imbroglioni, if I'm pronouncing it right, from director Lucio Fulci, which is a comedy from 1963. Yeah. And this song it's all about the voices in this. And I've never heard anything quite like this song before.
Yeah, the song is it's like super jazzy and mellow. It could have, we were talking earlier about like that song could have been, the previous song could have been from a spaghetti Western from the 70s, or it could have been from a Quentin Tarantino movie from last year. This one, I felt like this one feels like completely set in like 1963 for me. Like when I listened to it, it evoked like, I'm aging myself here, but it evoked like Get Smart, the original TV show, not the remake with Anne Hathaway or whatever, but like the original TV show, or like even Pink Panther, right? Like I immediately got put back into that time frame with this song, and I loved it. And the only exception I would make about this being modern day, like again, it immediately sent it set time and place for me, like, mid to early 60s. But then like after a second or third listen, I was like, you know what though? This could have been music that was playing in the hotel at White Lotus, for season 2, or like, I definitely got that too. So even though it was very time and place specific for me, I was like, or I could easily see this making an appearance in a season 2 of White Lotus.
Absolutely. And the way I found this one was the same way. It was through a double album called Boom, BOOM, exclamation point. Italian jazz soundtracks at their finest, 1959 through 1969. Yep. I haven't seen the movie Gli Imbroglioni, but I sure love this song. And I know, and when I sing it, my dog Domino runs for some reason. When I do the he's like running. I don't know why. Probably because my voice is really scary.
He's not a jazz fan. He's clearly
not. But it's so great because I like this one much like the first song of Vamos a Matar Compañeros, because there's really no, like, you can't sing along to it. It's not really a dance number. It's not in traditional 4/4 time. There's not really a verse, chorus, verse. It's not the traditional structure. Yet it's so hummable, singable. Gets what they call that, a worm,
an earworm.
Both do. Of these are, and I just love it. I think these composers, when they're creating music for a film, and whether or not they've seen the film, know what the theme is. Obviously, they have a connection and have worked with the directors of these two very different movies from two different time frames, this one being from 1963. And again, the sound quality is as good or better than anything today. And remember, back then, no auto-tune, everything was analog, no digital fixing. You couldn't punch in every millisecond to do a chant or a guitar riff or any part of this. You couldn't like microscopically go in there and fix things. They probably had to run through this several times. And to get the vocals right and the sound mix, that's no small thing. And they did that probably in 63 with I don't know if they have a 4-track recorder, maybe a 2-track recorder. They didn't have the technology as they do today. So it's just breathtaking to listen to these two songs. I wanted to pick these because I love movies. I love movies of this era, and I love Westerns. And then the spaghetti Westerns, as they're called, or Zapata Westerns, are just brilliant. And if they're good enough for Tarantino, they're good enough for me. And certainly with this music, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, the theme for those two, I think, are instant mood setters, right? Like, I feel like you listen to those two songs, and you hear the music, and you kind of immediately get a feel for what the movies are going to be relaying to you, and I just think, again, it really like got my wheels spinning and started making me think about how fun and challenging that must be, especially to take like movies and shows that are really complex or have really complex or silly themes, or something that's maybe a little bit left of center. Like, how do you put music to that? And so that was what I was thinking about as I was listening to yours. And because you kind of picked from the 60s and 70s, I'm like, I'm going to think about that in a more modern context and see where that leads me. And so my first pick are the main title theme from Succession by Nicholas Britell. So for me, again, back to mood, most of my shows, like, lyrics are the big theme of the day. Obviously, for this one, we've really gotten into mood. But I think that this theme song, for me, is maybe the best compliment to a show ever. Like, there are some shows that I can think of where the theme song is more linked because they've been in my head longer. But this one, I remember from the first moment I heard it, and like, you hear like a Game of Thrones theme, and it's going to be epic and big, and the strings and the build and all of that. But for something that's as complex as Succession, to put in a song that conveys all of that seems so challenging to me. And this song is rich. It's cacophonous. It's complex. It's often building and changing, but it has enough consistency to remind you that the show is about a family and this family's legacy. Like it really, from the first time I heard it, it really grabbed me and hasn't let me go since. I was like, this is just, I think it's so brilliant. I don't know if you're a fan of Succession, the show, but what do you think of this song?
Well, I think it's amazing. And I think what it points out is we don't want to hit the skip button when these shows come on and they start playing the intro or the theme music. And with this, you just want to listen to it every time. And I think that's really important, especially for TV shows that you're watching week after week. I know with The Sopranos, for example, when that opening comes, it's like a 2-minute opening for The Sopranos. I remember, maybe a little longer. I listen to that every time. I never skip it. I think with Succession, great choice because it's the same way, because it kind of gets you in the mood for the show. If you skip over it, you're missing out on that sort of warm up where you're getting into the mood, and that's what music does. And this is absolutely great choice. Great choice.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like anything else either. Like, again, the way he's sort of like in the middle of the song, and it comes up several times where it sounds like somebody's just banging on a piano, and you're like, what is happening here? And I can remember that again from the very first episode I watched of Succession. I was immediately pulled in before the show had ever even started by this incredible song. And if you're not familiar with Nicholas Britell, that's hopefully the other thing that listeners will get from this episode is like, go back and check out some of these scores, check out some of these soundtrack songs, because we do get caught up a lot in title tracks from films and things like that. But so many have amazing scores and, amazing music that is just instrumental, but so worth a listen. Nicholas Britell did all the music for Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, Andor, Don't Look Up, The Underground Railroad, Cruella. I mean, he's prolific in terms of soundtracks and, movie scores. You can find his music everywhere. I always joke he's sort of like my new Hans Zimmer, because I really used to love Hans Zimmer soundtracks as well. I still do.
Don't get me started on Hans Zimmer. That's incredible.
Genius.
But there are those working in today's movies and TV shows, and I like how these composer like Britell goes between genre, types of content. So it's not just about big screen movie scores. It can be intro, main title themes like this for Succession and others, and it's just brilliant. And you have to figure, Jen, that all these composers, I hope, love movies and TV. I don't know how you, you're talking about inextricably linked. I mean, I think when you have composers like Ennio Morricone or, Nicholas Britell, that there is a commonality that they love movies and TV and that kind of content, because it's obviously baked into their DNA to combine those two disciplines, music and
certainly
and TV.
Yeah. And they're almost like translators a little bit, right? Like the same way another person would speak a foreign language and translate, it's almost like they're translating what the movie's about through music. And I think that's
I like that.
I think it's such a cool skill, right? Yeah. Such a cool skill.
And they have to do it in 2 minutes or a minute or less.
Yeah, it seems impossible. I will too. I'll add a bonus track on our playlist this week, because I had a moment with this song maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I did not know, but there's actually a version of the Succession theme with lyrics. So I had a MASH moment. For those of you old enough to remember the old TV show MASH, it has a very recognizable theme, and I was probably, 20 something before in the show. I was like a little when MASH was on TV, but you can remember the theme because if you heard it once, it's in your head forever. And I was in my mid-20s when I realized that song had words, that there was actually a song.
Suicide is Painless, right?
Suicide is Painless by Johnny Mandel. Yeah. But the song version, the lyric version is a song called Puppets by Pusha T. And it's actually fantastic as well. So I'll throw Puppets on the end of this playlist when I post it for the show, just so that you can get a taste of the version of the song by Pusha T. Actually is really, really good as well.
I'm learning a lot
which
here, Jen. I'm
I'm
gonna listen after to everything you suggest. I think it's
you have to listen to that one, and I'm gonna bring us home with one that all my girls out there know. I'm gonna drag you behind the pink curtain with me, Paul. But
I'll go willingly. Thank you.
Our final song for this episode is the theme to Sex and the City by Douglas Cuomo. I mean, what can you say about this? It's instantly recognizable. It sets the tone. You can immediately, if I hear 1 second or all 2 minutes of this song, I see the entire opening credits, for Sex and the City.
It's so dynamic. It's one of the greatest opening. Again, you would never skip this song,
no.
The opening to Sex and the City. And in your mind, when you hear this song, you see the intro, the visuals of the intro.
Absolutely. She's wearing the pink tutu. The bus side, the side of the bus with her ad for her show, and then getting splashed. I think all it, like, you see it, and it's opposite. If Succession was, cacophonous and loud and full of discourse, like, this song is playful and hectic and uptown. It feels expensive to me. It's unpredictable. It builds to a pleasant place and then comes back down again. Kind of like life.
It is, and it strikes a neat balance because it starts out in a major key, I think, if I'm saying this right, and then ends in a minor key. There's sort of a little bit of melancholy in there.
Yeah.
It's sort of like fun and breezy, and you want to have a Cosmo when you hear this song, when you hear this theme. But there's a little bit of, at the end, there's that little bit of quiet, the sax or whatever, where it hits sort of there's more to this than just fun and Sex in the City. There's a lot more to it. And
totally. And I said, I made a note here, like at the end, that part that you're talking about, right when it builds up, the dun 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 dun, like right before you get that like scaling down, where it's like dun 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 dun, that part that trails down. And I wrote that it's almost like something is falling down and then it lands at the end. You have that beautiful like finish on the sax note, when she realizes she's been splashed by the water, and the opening credits end and it's kind of her wet but still looking at her bus side, so it's like the good and the bad.
I would rank it among the most recognizable. I mean, you could play, remember that old game show, Name That Tune?
Yep.
I could name that tune in 3 notes. You could name this tune in like 2 notes. What this is all about and what it's from. It's very interesting that there are modern classics like this. We tend to think of, nothing classic has been made in the past 20 or 30 years. But yes, in the music world, especially, there have been. And it's not like all the Get Smart theme song, as you mentioned, that's a classic. There's others from back in the day. The Dick Van Dyke Show is another one where the music actually goes along with Dick Van Dyke tripping in his living room, if people remember. So it's like really cool. And, Hawaii Five-0, and we could go on and on. You could do
so many,
so many of those. But Sex and the City, I think you made an excellent choice because it really goes with what we're talking about today. A lot of this is based on music that has no lyrics, at least in the versions we might be listening to, though there may be lyrics somewhere for some of these songs, either made up or in our minds. But I think it's fantastic. Music is, for me, it's really everything. And if you don't have the music, if you took the soundtrack or score out of a lot of movies and shows, they wouldn't have the impact that they do.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. You lose something really special, I think, if you take the music and the score out of a film. Certainly emotionally, you lose a ton of emotional connection for me. And that's another thing that I noticed, and why I sort of like the organic theme that ended up coming out of the show, and just me thinking about how your 2 songs made me feel, and listening and being a fan of your podcast. And that's something that I noticed on your show. Like, even though it's not specifically about music, in almost every episode, something will come up though about film and music, even if it's just anecdotally, where someone will say like, I, became a journalist because my dad showed me movies, and when I first heard the Star Wars theme, I knew that magic was happening, or something like that. It can be any story that somebody is relating. It's not necessarily specifically about that, but I think you must bump into that a lot, right? Like anytime you're talking about film or television.
I know with film and television scores and soundtracks, it's often a way when you're younger or to get introduced to jazz. You may think, oh, I don't like jazz. And then suddenly you're like, I like that Sex and the City theme. And it's very jazzy, right? Or, I'm only like rock and roll. But then you hear, you see 2001: A Space Odyssey and you hear the Strauss Waltz or Thus Spake Zarathustra, the incredible music in those films. And they are often a great it's an introductory, journey into the world of many different types of music. And I think that especially for younger people, when you're a kid, and my dad used to play Flight of the Bumblebee and other kind of very poppy orchestral music. But, the spoonful of sugar often helps the medicine go down, as they say.
It does.
That's often the best way to do it is either through a movie or a TV show and get people interested in different types of music.
I completely agree. And I hope, listeners, that you will take some time to check out some of the artists and songs and maybe do a little film score deep dive because there's so much out there. We could do many, many episodes just talking about film and music, Paul.
And I know we could keep going for hours. And you know what I want to say, too? I'm very impressed by Spotify because I was like, I bet they're not going to have these songs.
No,
there's no way they're going to have from these vinyl albums, because that happens sometimes where
it does.
In fact, some of the songs on the Boom soundtrack, the Italian jazz soundtrack album, some of these songs are first time on vinyl ever. So
amazing.
They're on Spotify, but they for the first time ever on vinyl. So that tells you how important the vinyl world is and how it can be a great resource for songs. But man, Spotify, got to give it, and I'm not a shameless plug. I have nothing to do with Spotify other than I listen, but I'm like, I'm going to send them a zinger. Like they won't be able to find it on Spotify. Both the songs that I picked are both available on Spotify. So check them out, as are many other songs from these composers.
Yeah, they are. And I'll include the link to our playlist when I do my social post about the show. And I'll probably even plug these other two albums. They're both so good. I loved that Boom Italian jazz album. So I'll put links up there for those as well so that you can get to those too.
And by the way, the best one sheets ever. If you look at the
so good
in the inner sleeve of the Ennio Morricone album that I got, the Vamos a Matar Compañeros. I just love saying that all day. They have inside the gatefold are a bunch of they have a Fistful of Dollars. The Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone and all these various. They have the one sheet in there of Compañeros, the song we were talking about for that movie, the Sergio Corbucci movie. And so it's really fun to have that tactile experience of getting an album, being able to open up the album and read and do research. Everything's right there, a one-stop shop. You've got the vinyl albums and you've got all the production information and a backstory on every song.
And a cool poster to hang up afterwards. Like those one sheets are very awesome. Oh, Paul, thank you so much for sharing what you're listening to this week. I think you're definitely going to have to come back at some point, and we are going to have to do another soundtracks conversation. Maybe we'll pick like our 4 favorite songs from films of recent memory, or maybe we'll do like Oscar songs or something. There are so many things we could come up with.
I'm all in, Jen. Thank you. This is an amazing show. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I got to combine my love of movies and music and talk to you. What could be better?
Thank you so much. And for listeners that want to also check out Paul's fabulous show, you can search for Mini Screens Big Picture wherever you get your podcasts and can find it. Also, there are so many amazing guests, some old friends that we share from the entertainment industry, and also many new friends that are
upcoming. Jen,
that are great.
I have Gary Rydstrom, 20-time Oscar nominee and 7-time winner for sound.
Wow.
Done movies like Titanic, Terminator 2, Fabelmans most recently, and just amazing. And Gianluca Sergi, he wrote a book with Gary Rydstrom about the endless end of cinema, which will never end. And it's very interesting. So that'll be my next podcast, Many Screens, Big Picture for Comscore. That's on the way. It'll be out.
Amazing. So you guys tune in, Many Screens, Big Picture. It's a Comscore podcast. And then please be sure to follow and download and share this show with everyone you know and all the people you'd like to know, because music is a great way to connect. And to stay informed on all things What Are You Listening To and Super Awesome Mix, follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.